Hey, what's up, you guys? Hevs here. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and let's get to the video. Alright, here I'm building a forest. The forest is not really a forest. In fact, the theme is Campfire. Originally, I wanted to build a forest, but decided against the forest because if I tried to build a forest, it would be more like 3 trees and a rock. Not very cool, very annoying, and more like a little chunk of forest, a wee pebblet of forest, really. This tree, I quite like it. Most of my trees come out pretty awful. They're not really trees, they're just clumps of wood and leaves and sadness. Lots of not treeness. Here I'm building a rock. I've built rocks before. They're really easy to build, actually. They're about as easy as placing down a grass block. Nothing special, just a rock. Though I do like using buttons to make little pebbles in the road versus putting down slabs or stairs or walls because they're fast and they're cheap and anyone can do it without any real explanation. Here, built rocks are really cool, but they need detailing such as stairs, slabs, walls, and texturing. Here I'm trying to type in a command. Commands are cool because they speed things up 100-fold if you can remember them. Now I could not. That's why I stood there for a while, but once it popped in my head, I got it done pretty quickly. Then I just used the same pathway I always use. It's the coarse dirt, granite, and grass, the shaved grass block. It's like the one where you use the shovel on. I can't remember the name of it, I never can. Here I'm building a tent. It's green, it's nothing too interesting. I use the exact same tent throughout the entirety of the 5, 15, and 30-minute build. Then I'm popping into bed, realized it's not a good color, so I went back and fixed that after I put in this little campfire here. I think I did pretty good with the campfire details as far as things are considered for 5 minutes. Wait, I didn't go back and fix it. I thought I made it a green bed. Ooh, that's weird. I really thought I made a green bed. Anyways, that's my 5-minute build. Quick, easy, nothing special. This is the kind of stuff you'd see on Hypixel, right? Just a tent, a tree, and some rocks. But that's what you expect from a 5-minute build. It's not supposed to be detailed. It's just supposed to be quick, easy, and beating, summing up the theme. Then here, I started within the tree again. This tree is slightly more detailed on the stump, and it's about the same height, but I added in more of a thickness to the edges just to create more tree branches, right? So it looks like an actual tree. However, I made it a bit too thick. Even though I went back and thinned it out a bit, it still looks a bit thick. If I had to go back, I'd just make it taller. That's it. And then I'd continue with this, because that's just how trees work. If they've got a thick stump, they're going to be really tall. Unless they're oak trees, but that's the exception because they have really big limbs, so they don't have to be very tall. Since they have so many limbs, it just works itself out. Here, this is one of the best oak trees I've ever built, really. Most of the oak trees I make, I usually mess up with this part, you see. I put branches so that it goes off to the side. I don't put them so that they go down or over the top, kind of like scary trees from Monster House or from horror movies in general. I put them so that they just look like little flat trees and not like this, where it's a bit more rounded. After I figured out how I did this tree so well, I honestly don't even know why it never came to me before, but I'll never go back to doing trees the same way again. Here I tried to remember another command. It didn't work out. I messed up the masking. It basically just means so that you set one specific part as it. I put it so that it would mask air, right? But I messed up the actual command, meaning that I put in more air than leaves, and it just didn't set right. So instead I built them in by hand. I'm sure if I went back I could probably figure out the command, but building by hand is fine, because it doesn't take too much time since I click pretty fast. Then I just reused the path command that I used previously, and created the same path I always use. Then I put in some more rocks, because without rocks it's not really a forest, it's more of a place with trees. That's something I hope they add in at some point in the game, is these little rock formations. Now I know they have them in those giant spruce forests, but I want them to add them in normal forests, right? You got your fallen trees, you got normal trees, and then you have rocks, because that'd be really cool, right? Or these little tent settlements. I don't know if they're adding them in the new one. I haven't done much research into it, because I don't want to be disappointed when something I really like doesn't get added in, right? But they should add tents in, like these little camping areas, because that would be kind of cool. I hope they use more of this 15-minute one, even though I really like the 30-minute one I made. This 15-minute one is just more ideal for what you'd see in a real campground, right? Tents, trees, and a little pathway. Like I said, same thing for the tents. It's going to be the exact same detailing wall, except this time I actually added in the bottom of the tents versus not adding them in the back. So this part, once I finish the detailing with the banners, I actually pop in some detailing on the bottom that makes it look like they're tents. So, like, the bottom of it is tents versus it just being grass. Because if you've ever stayed in a tent before, they have the same exact coloration or, you know, fabric on the bottom as they do on the sides of the tent. Here I put in a little cooking area because every good camping spot needs one. And another tree is going to go in that back part area, but first I have to put in the detailing on the bottom of the tents, and boom. More or less the campground, just going to add in one more tall tree in the back here. That was just to fill up the space because I kind of messed up where I should put the tents, but at the same time I needed them in the right spots. A, for the thumbnail, B, because if I don't put it in the right spot, it just looks kind of ugly. Like if I put them both in that corner there or squeeze them together, you wouldn't be able to get in, and it wouldn't look like a real campsite. It looked like something that's just unrealistic and you put together when you were falling asleep, which I wasn't falling asleep when I put this together, which I'm very proud about. Because normally I'm fairly tired whenever I'm building. I build for way too long. Since most of my builds never really make it into videos. Here on the actual forest bit, this is just some basic detailing I threw in. You've got your glass panes. Now I wouldn't suggest doing this in survival, but for creative it's totally worth it. Use your lime glass panes and your dark green ones with your fences. It'll look really cool, it's really simple. And then put red glass panes in, since we do that in survival though, with the red glass panes. So you can make apple trees. I feel that if you use red, purple, maybe a bit, use the white for winter, and you can get yourself some nice effects for the trees. They just look really simple without having to get heads. This is the 15-minute one, few trees, a lot more detailing, and it just looks genuinely nicer because I had more time to go back, fix things, and find a couple things out. Now moving on to the 30-minute one. This one is actually from a campsite I've been to before. Now I quite like the campsite I was at. The way it worked was that you had an entire wall of rocks surrounding you in a semicircle, kind of like a moon, where it's like the waning, where it's kind of, most of the moon is gone and you just got the curved part, right? And it's just that laid on the ground in rocks. So what I tried to do was recreate that with the texturing, because there were different types of rocks, and then the kind of semicircle going around there. I did do a bit more work on it, but I had time, hence 30 minutes I was actually able to accomplish a lot more with shape, detailing, and general planning. So here it looks kind of like a square with a bit more of a roundness to it, but in just a second it looks more like a semicircle, which is what I wanted. Then just adding in some basic detailing, which I've done 1,000,001 times, because if you go back to my previous videos, we have my giant island one, where I'd made a huge cave, so I've practiced using those same shapes 1,000,001 times. Then, with the actual campsite that I stayed at, we had the 3 different kinds of trees, and these trees had the oak ones, the spruce, and I want to say some weird birch kind of tree, but I didn't feel like putting those in because I couldn't quite remember what they looked like, since I didn't run into them a few times. Like, they were just kind of here and there, very sporadically placed around. Nature's magical, but building things by hand is a lot more planned. Then here I just kept making out branches. That's, trick for building these oak trees. Make sure you just put branches everywhere and then fill it in with leaves and you'll be good to go. Same with the tall ones, you don't want to put too many branches, just a nice long stick of spruce wood up, and then you pop in your leaves. Just, tips and tricks for making trees. Nothing special. Then I tried to make a bit of a curve on these ones. I forgot to go back and detail it, so that set me back a bit. But honestly, you can't really tell, thankfully, due to all the leaves. And I added in another oak tree back here. Like I said, just keep popping in these little, what are they called? Limbs, the branches, right? And you just keep putting them in, and then it'll fill the tree out completely, so you won't have to add too many leaves. I think that's where people go wrong when they make trees, and that's where I used to go wrong, is when you build out a tree, you only build out bits and pieces. You want to build out the top, the bottom, the sides, everywhere, because nature, well, they say it's very concise and elegantly designed. It's not. It's wild and it's crazy. And if you want to capture that look in a tree, you're going to have to put branches everywhere. That's why these trees look a lot better than some you'll see on your usual Minecraft worlds and something you'll cook up, that I used to cook up. They just kind of look like hunks of wood, because that's what we put down, hunks of wood in a nice pattern. Then, continuing on, I added in some details at the bottom of the trees, as you see there. And when I was making this campsite, I decided to go back and add the detailing for the 15-minute one to these ones, because I just really like it. Like I said, survival. Don't do this. It's not a good tip. It costs way too many resources. The fences, go ahead and do it, but with the actual glass, don't do it at all. Okay, it's a waste, unless you're adding in the red ones for apples on your oak trees. But, you know, it's a waste to do it any other time. It's just not worth it, because you can't even really see it. It just looks kind of cool if you're in creative. And you have endless resources and a whole lot of time. Then here for the tent, it's just the same thing. In a little while I'm going to over detail it because I ran out of things to do. I ran out of space mostly. Then here with the campfire, I wanted to make a huge bonfire. This wasn't actually part of the campsite. However, I wanted to make it look like this place had been stayed at 101 times, and people like naturally started making the campsite more of what it was, just more finely terrained and whatnot. Then continuing with our pathway that I use every single time. It's just such an easy, fast pathway. Creating more seating, and I thought something cool that you could do is you can put little benches up against a tent or a building, and that way you don't have to put a back part if you want to try and squeeze them into something, to have them be part of the building. Like I said about those stone buttons, those little pebbles or rocks lying around, it's just a cool detail. Then, you know, just go around. I tried to fly around to see if there's anything else I can add. I realized I didn't put a cooking station in, so I just upgraded the previous one since I had more time. But really I was running out of ideas towards the end, since I'd run out of space and I'd already detailed it a lot. Like, if you look at this compared to the 15-minute one, it's beyond detail. And it's only going to take a step up when I add in our stripped logs. Now these stripped logs, use them on everything. Period. I don't care what you're building, just add them in. They make it look really cool, especially on rustic builds. Then I went in and added the red glass panes as apples, just because I thought it looks kind of cool, and that, you know, that's really the build right there. I'm going to do a bit of interior on the tent in a minute, but first I want to build a stump back here. Now I tried to build a stump, but it really didn't come out as a stump. Right? It came out as more of a wooden nature toilet, which I guess what stumps are if you use them that way, toss the dirt on it, but really this is what I came up with. It looks more like a toilet and less like a stump, since I couldn't really properly make the stump, but I was also running a little more time because I still want to do some more detailing to this tent. Plus, we need, in order to make a better stump, I would have to have a chisel and bits mod on, which isn't in the spirit of what I'm trying to accomplish here with the 5, 15, and 30-minute ones, because if I were to try to make a stump with the chisel and bits, I have to spend 2 to 3 hours. Like, that stuff's absurd. In the back there, I tried to make like a little bathroom spot, and I tried to put a toilet paper roll on there, which is actually, I want to say a grindstone, but, you know, that's the closest thing you can get in vanilla Minecraft. Then here, I continued along with my greenery, trying to spruce up the path a bit more, but really I just ran out of things to do, so I wanted to do a bit more detailing. Then I realized I've been adding lamps in, so I figured I should upgrade it, even if it is last minute, because all of these lamps I added in last minute, but they still look okay. Anyways, that is the 30-minute campsite. All in all, it's basically just a beyond detailed version of that 5-minute one. Or, you know, an obviously upgraded version of that 15-minute one. As far as things go, considering the 5-minute, 15-minute, and 30-minute one, I will say that I did a lot better in the 30-minute one because I felt less rushed for time, so I made a lot less mistakes, right? I just feel like that pressure will always mess people up, especially me. Because when I'm trying to build that 5-minute one, I just keep messing things up. I have to go back, fix them, throw things back together, and all of a sudden I got 5 seconds left to build, right? And then the 15-minute one, it just has a lot more detail to it, despite it being only a little, you know, like 10 minutes longer. In any case, if you liked today's commentary, let me know. I feel like it's a lot better than what I usually do. In any case, see you probably tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. You know, it's a little... uploading, recording, and dealing with garbage schedule is a bit off. Anyways, like, subscribe. See ya.